Hey, I actually didn't know if you knew this, but the fantasy news, it's gotta flow. Welcome everybody to another episode of I Always Bump the Desk. I am your disheveled goblin host, Daniel Green, and today I am happy to tell you that yes, we have hit over 3,200 backers for the Neon Ghost pre-launch Kickstarter page, and Bryce and I have made it our personal mission to make this the most beautiful book you have ever put on your shelf at this price range. We are still actively adding more things to make sure the amount of support we have gotten is echoed in the result of what we deliver. We've been so inspired by the level of enthusiasm that we're like doubling down, and we're like, I want reviewers who open this, regardless of how they feel about the story, to just be able to go, that's a damn pretty book. So after years of taking apart deluxe editions and limited editions, I'm taking a lot of those features I like and putting them into this Kickstarter edition. So, you know,
get in line.
I'm ending it with a threat. tinyurl.com/neonghost. Now let's go ahead and jump on into the fantasy news. And we're going to be kicking off this episode of Fantasy News with, of course, my favorite segment, the cover reveals. And this one for a well-known series I know many of you will be excited about, Rivers of London by Ben Aaronovitch. Winter's Gifts, a Rivers of London novella. Available June 8th of this year, 2023, the pitch reads, something terrible is awakening across the pond, and the clues lead to a cursed expedition into the frozen wilderness. FBI Special Agent Kimberly Reynolds quickly finds herself in a horrible nightmare, as opposed to a pretty bad one. And in the next story, for those of you who just saw my recent review of This Is How You Lose the Time War plug here, one of the co-authors of that just got signed to a 4-book deal to Tor. Amal El-Mohtar has been signed to Tor for a collection of short stories, 2 novels, and 1 novella. I'm always curious about that, because if you're like about to deliver the novella, but you then like rework it or something along the process, if you decide to put more words in and it gets blown up, does that violate a contract? Can they be like,
no, we said novella.
And in the final cover reveal we're going to be covering today, we got The Hexologists, which I really like this cover. There's something about the color choices, the layout, the aesthetics, the symmetry of it. Beautiful. But this was by Josiah Bancroft with art by Ian Lieno. And this book will be available for those of you who are into Hexology, I don't know what the hell that was, September 26th. And for the goblins who like to support the self-published community here, in really awesome news for the SPFBOs, the Self-Published Book Awards, they filled up their 300 applicants within 41 minutes of the process being live. Now, if you are someone who wants to submit their work to the SPFBOs, don't worry, there are some dropouts and they're keeping the link live at least for a while, so late entries can at least be put forward as potential replacements, but it's just really cool to see something that is such a large part of the community continue to grow in its support, and it's something I just really believe in being good for the community. The SPFBOs kick ass. I was once offered to be a judge on it, I just didn't have the time. I am genuinely jealous of the judges who get to go through so many spectacular self-published books and find gems that they're able to then promote into wider and greater success. It's awesome. But speaking of awards, we also got the winners of the Nebula Awards announced, and I will be going ahead and reading off the major ones for you, but of course, if you'd like to see the rest for yourself, links are always down below. You know that. The Nebula Award for the Best Novel went to Babel by R.F. Kuang. Congratulations to friend of the channel and one of my favorite modern fantasy authors. Babel absolutely deserves the critical acclaim it's been getting. It's a must-read of recent fantasy releases. For Best Novella, the winner was Even Though I Knew the End by C.L. Polk. The Nebula winner for Novelette, If You Find Yourself Speaking to God, Address God with the Informal You by John Chu. The Andre Norton Nebula Award for Middle Grade and Young Adult Fiction went to Ruby Finley versus the Interstellar Invasion by K. Tempest Bradford. The Ray Bradbury Nebula Award for Outstanding Dramatic Presentation went to Everything Everywhere All at Once, of course the movie from A24 we've all seen and made our friends see. And the Nebula Award for Game Writing went to Elden Ring, which I'm a little bit surprised by, but makes sense if especially the award is taking into account like how Elden Ring was very alternative in its storytelling. For sure, reward that, and it did have a lot of lore and story to get into once you seek it out. Or just actually pay attention and not do an all murder playthrough like I like to do. Murder's fun. Bweedoo. We also got a last minute fantasy news update here from Patrick Rothfuss, where he took to his blog and Twitch to announce, no, not when the promised chapter that he raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for charity for will finally be released so long after the fact, but instead that he is going to be releasing a novella following Bast from the King Killer Chronicles with 30 illustrations from Nate Taylor. The Narrow Road Between Desires will be released November 14th this year, and it will be longer than The Slow Regard of Silent Things. And I know there are people out there wondering if those who have already paid money for the charity project that was not delivered on, that was claimed to be delayed only because they were still waiting for a cast of voice actors that have just apparently still not had any gaps in their schedule, if they will be receiving the first chapter of this in some capacity instead? No. And just to fully clarify, this isn't even a fully new story from Rothfuss, but instead the expansion of a story released in 2014 following Bast called The Lightning Tree, which has been expanded from 93 pages to 208. So Rothfuss is just tweaking something that's already been out there and making it far larger and adding illustrations. And I know I seem really harsh on someone who comes across so nice in their live streams. I watched Rothfuss on Twitch announce this. He really does seem like a good guy, but as someone who has pushed people towards backing his projects in the past and has then seen those people be severely disappointed and feel responsible for that, I absolutely will not be recommending anyone back anything from Rothfuss until it is either on shelves or previous projects that have been promised and not delivered on are completed. I just can't in good conscience recommend that responsibly. Moseying on over into manga news, we have also had it confirmed that Dark Horse's next deluxe edition for a duper manga is going to be Trigun, with this bold yellow cover, which I really like in concept, but I'm curious to see how it's actually going to look in hand. Yellow is a delicate color to work with in art, in my opinion. But that will be followed by Trigun Maximum as well, getting the same treatment. The first of which will be available December 5th of this year for the retail price of $49.99 US. Maximum, though, will be available next year, April 2nd, for the same price. And now we gotta talk about some stuff that makes me mad, because Penguin Random House and Florida parents are suing a school district over their book bans. Obviously, there are certain books that shouldn't be in like an elementary school. I wouldn't take Berserk and put it in a preschool. Duh. But the length and extremes that these book bans are going is insane. We are in the day and age of the internet. Children and teenagers can find what they want, and the idea of removing a book from a school where it can, even if it's full of controversial content, be discussed, explored, and understood is bullshit. And here's some more thoughts I had on the matter. You know what? I do want to cover this. It can affect fantasy books, and this is a big goddamn deal for literature, and it's gonna make some people unsubscribe. Good. Just go burn books in a fire with the rest of the Nazis out there, you fascist. Jesus. Oh, Daniel, you're being too extreme. They're banning books! It's getting to the point where stuff's being removed from high schools. If you're 16 and you grew up in the day and age of the internet, if you think pulling out a book about gay people is going to do anything aside from send a message to gay kids that you don't like them and don't want them here, you're lying to yourself, or that's what you're deliberately doing. And you. This is bigotry, and these people can go f themselves. But okay, let us slide on into some more stable fantasy news in terms of adaptations. The Arthurian legend is going to be adapted once again by MGM+. The Winter King is going to be a 10-episode series starring Ian D. Casetaker, and will launch August 20th. On the linear network and its streaming counterpart. Now, I didn't recognize much of the cast, and I don't have experience with many people involved with this project, but it looks like it could be promising. It just, for some reason, a reason I can't really shake, feels like wrong time, wrong adaptation, in this moment, and I can't justify it beyond that. But of course, I love Arthurian Legends. I hope this is a great one. It just isn't something I can muster a whole lot of hype for within myself right now. Speaking of a lack of being able to muster hype, a new Lord of the Rings MMO is reportedly on the way. Now, we've known this is coming for quite some time. We're just getting more details in this article. And it is important to note that Amazon is working with the Embracer Group, the large corporation that has a lot of the Lord of the Rings rights that we've talked about recently here on the channel for this game development. But all we really know right now is this is going to launch for both PC and consoles, apparently. And what was said about the actual game itself was, the world of Middle-earth continues to prove an endlessly fertile ground for creators. The Amazon Games has passion for building immersive, compelling worlds and publishing games for global audiences. We have the clear ambition to create the highest quality entertainment products for this IP, whether we utilize international resources or team up with the best industry partners that complement our capabilities. We're taking every care to deliver an MMO which will do justice to the expansive Middle-earth universe and delight players around the world. Now, this is the same concept that had a bit of a misstart a few years ago, but like, yes, of course I'm always down for another great Lord of the Rings game. It's just, do I believe these are the people who can do it when I've seen New World mishandled so aggressively and so many other Lord of the Rings things from similar names mishandled? What I will say is I hope I'm proven wrong. But I am nothing if not someone who's willing to balance the criticism and praise, and we have seen a first look for a goblin design for Season 2 of Rings of Power, and despite my heaps of criticism for Season 1 of Rings of Power, I don't think I really saw anyone criticizing the creature design for how the goblins and things looked. High praise for the people who actually work on practical effects that are involved in that show. I really am sorry that so many people forgot to talk about just how splendid the details of creature design really were in that show. And so I want to take a moment to say, like, yes, it's just a blurry photo of a goblin, but it looks good. And I think, well, Season 1 of Rings of Power overall was disappointing for many. The creature design and the goblin looks were quite gobtastic. And in a super happy last-minute fantasy news update, it has just been announced that on June 22nd, we will be getting the Silmarillion as narrated by Andy Serkis. And it won't be an Audible exclusive, which means you can get it on Barnes & Noble, Google, or Libro FM as well. Yay! But in two pieces of quickie trailer news, we got the trailer for Mortal Kombat 1, which I do not like the name for that next Mortal Kombat game, but when you're this late into the franchise, you might as well just go like Mortal Kombat Genesis, because so much has been done and it's going to be generic no matter what you try. The trailer had actually a really good atmosphere to it, and I was surprised at how not gory it was for so long until suddenly That was such a left turn. I don't know why that was surprising to me. It's Mortal Kombat. And then we also got a trailer for a movie called The Creator, and it really piqued my interest, and I hope I'm not disappointed because it seems to be an original IP and have quite the interesting retake on a war between humanity and artificial intelligence. I love that. I feel like Terminator has kind of dominated that discussion in terms of like a direct, obviously this would never happen, but like warfare style approach with like battles on the beaches between humanity and AI. And I hope this is successful enough to give us a long-lasting another impression on what that could be and look like. Gareth Edwards is underrated in my opinion, and the lead actor whose name I'm blanking on right now, who was awesome in Tenet, I'm glad to see helming another large project like this. So, yay! I hope The Creator turns out to be just as good as this trailer overshows. Stop showing so much in trailers! And then I wanted to end fantasy news with a bit of a haha that I had to triple check to make sure this is the screw up it is reported to be. I even reached out to OSP, Overly Sarcastic Productions, who is an amazing channel here, just to verify that this is the mistake that it is, because it's such a bad mistake. But Russell Crowe is apparently starring in a movie called The Pope's Exorcist, which deals with the Spanish Inquisition. And fans of Dragon Age noticed that apparently someone involved in the production clearly just Googled Inquisition symbol and found the one from Dragon Age and put it in the movie. So now this serious drama starring Russell Crowe about apparently like, real world files about but have an image prominently in the movie from Dragon Age. This just goes to show, like, no matter what level of industry you get to, humans can be lazy, and someone in a certain department can just Google something and be like, put it in. And maybe this is based off some obscure symbol that I and OSP were unable to find. I'm fully willing to admit that this could be a, joke's on me in this moment. But right now, especially after confirming that apparently this was not inspired by anything for the game of Dragon Age, it's just a symbol they made for the game, and certainly looks like a modern symbol, not from one back in, not now phone, not back in those days. It seems that, someone in a Russell Crowe movie just decided to go, Inquisition symbol? That's it, done. Don't check it, put it in. But this has just been your latest episode of Fantasy News. Like and subscribe if you have not already, and be sure to check out the Neon Ghost Kickstarter pre-launch page, because that line is getting thick. And you all, I'm sure, are going to be surprised how much we are putting on into these editions at this price range. I'm really proud of it. Join the Fantasy News Discord channel and go ahead and post any stories you'd like to see covered next week. Have a good one, y'all. Peace.